It's cold outside. Take my mug. It's St. Kateri mug. Shout out to Catholic to the Max website. Best stuff ever. Anyway, this is they have saint mugs, and they have quotes about the saints. And so this is St. Kateri's. Even though this has nothing to do with the video, except for that saints. Hi, I'm still alive, even if I haven't posted in a month and a half. I'm sorry. It's complicated. Well, it's not complicated, really. It's just school, work, and the fact that I don't have walls. And so my siblings play out there. I can't record. Anyway, those are my excuses. I'm really going to be trying to be consistent in the new year, but we'll just see what happens. Anyway, so topic on hand, which is much better than my excuses, because she didn't have any excuses, she just went for it. She didn't try to make excuses, she just went for it. Saint Cecilia, martyrs. I love martyrs just because, you know, they're awesome, giving their life for Christ and everything. Oof, it takes a lot of guts. And I've talked about martyrs. I talked about St. Maximilian Kolbe. I think that's the only martyr I've talked about so far. And then, so we're talking about St. Cecilia, one of my all-time favorite martyrs, for multiple reasons. So we're going to talk about her life, and it's going to be the same format, life, and then virtue, and then we're going to get out of here fast, but, you know, I never have fast videos. St. Cecilia, one of the 7 virgin martyrs mentioned in the Roman canon. If you don't know what that is, I'll put a link in the description so you can find out. Okay, so she was alive in the 2nd, 3rd century, so it's kind of like fuzzy what we know about her, but we know the basics. So she was born to pagan parents. The reason she's Christian is because there was a servant, nursemaid kind of person who raised her Christian, or she converted as a kid. So this was all secret, but then her parents eventually found out. When she was able, like rationally, she vowed herself to God. She vowed herself to God to be pure and chaste forever. But her parents did not agree with this because, you know, the custom of the time is for you to get married especially for girls like Cecilia right now. Like, Cecilia is 13, 14 years old. She's younger than me. So she's that age when this is all happening. And so she vows her virginity to God, but her parents disagree with this and force her to marry this wealthy Roman. He's a senator or a soldier. And force her to marry this Roman named Valerian. So she's going through this turmoil of, okay, should I obey my parents? Should I obey the vow that I made to God? Like, what should I do? So she is able to see her guardian angel, who is going to protect her from anybody who's going to try to hurt her, take away her chastity. And so they get married. Valerian and Cecilia get married. And that night, she tells him, okay, look, I'm Christian, and I vowed myself to God to stay chaste forever, so I'm not going to consummate the marriage. And he gets mad. Clearly. But he's also like, how do I know this is true? So she tells him, you gotta get baptized, you gotta become a Christian, and then you'll be able to see my guardian angel. So he gets baptized, and is able to see her guardian angel, and then that's when he really believes. And also he kind of bypassed the usual 2-year-long Christian initiation process, because it was literally like the marriage, and then he got baptized the next day, and then he could see guardian angel. So he sees her guardian angel and believes, and like legit believes in the faith now. Also his brother. So she converts. So she convinces him to convert, like I said, and then also his brother Tiberius also converts. And then they both are eventually beheaded because they wouldn't worship the emperor and offer incense to the gods. So they get killed. And then Cecilia gets brought in, and the prefect, the guy in charge, is like, okay, give up your faith or we're gonna kill you. And she's like, I'm not gonna give up my faith, sorry. Not sorry. And so he sends her to be suffocated in the baths. So, super hot, a lot of steam, eventually she's gonna suffocate, right? So she's there all night. That doesn't work. Next morning, they come, she's still alive. Like, what the heck? So instead, they try to get her beheaded, And apparently you can only try to behead someone 3 times in ancient Rome or something like that. So the executioner tries 3 times. First time, miracle, nothing happens. Second time, cuts her a little bit, but not completely. Third time, still cuts more, but she's not dead yet. So she's bleeding to death, but they can't do anything about it. So they just leave her there, and people come and and she tells them about Jesus, for 3 days, and she witnesses to them, and then eventually dies. And I don't know if you can see, this is I got to Rome I went to Rome this month in December, and I was not able to go to see her body. So mad. But this is a picture that I got offline. Not that I took. Unfortunately, I'm mad. But she died with her fingers 3 and 1, witnessing to the Trinity. So she even with her last action, she was witnessing to the faith and claiming, like, she refused to listen to the Romans. And a legend is that she was singing. She did have a beautiful singing voice and musical abilities and stuff, but legend has it that she, when she was dying, was singing in her heart to God, a song to God, and I will either post the song, a link to the song below, or I'll incorporate it in the movie somehow, the video. But basically saying, Lord, make sure I don't, hold on, let me think if I can remember this. Make my heart immaculate, that I may not be confounded, Lord, is the main part of it. So, I've scrounged up a quote by St. Cecilia, my personal experience, and so make decisions in light of eternity. This is my senior quote, and I mean, I'll let you think about it yourself. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot. And then this one, this is not by her, this is about her, because we don't have a lot of quotes, so I'm like, I need another one. I like this quote a lot. So it's from the Constitutions of the Congregation of the Dominicans of St. Cecilia. Really long name. I'm like, what the heck? So Dominicans of St. Cecilia is the order that teaches at my school. And the Constitutions is basically their rule of life. So this is, St. Cecilia is their patroness. And the Constitutions tell them how they should live their life and strive for holiness. And so that kind of gives you the frame of mind when you're listening to this. We long for a fidelity that is, which is a testimony not unlike that of the Virgin Martyr Saint Cecilia. For love of God and conquest of the kingdom of heaven, we desire to build up the body of Christ until we ourselves are transformed into His image. To give you a kind of really cool tidbit that most people aren't going to get this kind of information, in their morning offering, these sisters pray what's the line? They pray and they pray, I would wish to be able to subscribe the blood of martyrdom to this my intention. So, like, this is their morning offering that they pray every morning. That's part of it. And they're referring back to several things that they've listed earlier, but, like, I want to live the life of a martyr in my daily life, even if I'm not going to be killed. I think it was Father John Hardin. He said, we don't all have to die a martyr's death, but we're not all called to die a martyr's death, but we're all called to live a martyr's life. And you think, like, okay, what is a martyr's life actually going to be like before the fact? Their life, not their death, their life. Their life is going to be that of love for God. And then, so, St. Cecilia, pray for us. This is in the Mother House at Nashville, the Dominicans of St. Cecilia. This is me dressed up as St. Cecilia for a day we had at school one day. I was like, yeah, I'm going to dress up as St. Cecilia just because I can. So that's a fun picture of me. And of course, I play the piano. And St. Cecilia is the patroness of music. going to talk about the obvious virtue, purity, because that's really what the virgin martyrs are known for. And Cecilia is still a virgin martyr, even though she's married. Why? Because she refused to break her vow of purity and have sexual relations with Valerian. So why did she do that? And why do people still do that? Because if you think about it, that's what Roman Catholic priests do. I say Roman Catholic because Byzantine Catholics, they're still Catholic, their priests can be married. Why do sisters and brothers take this vow of chastity? Why do they do that? The main reason goes back to the quote that I gave at the end of the PowerPoint that is allegedly St. Cecilia's. Make decisions in light of eternity. What does it mean in relation to purity? I'm going to pull out a big word, eschatological sign. That's a word that's used to describe consecrated men and women, which basically means that they're a reference, a sign to heaven. That's what they're pointing us towards heaven, or reminding us what to really live for. They're saying that, Saint Cecilia is saying this, and they're saying, sorry, I'm kind of going everywhere, that, we're not just called to live for these earthly relationships, which are good. They are not bad. They are good. And the only reason that we can give them up and say no to them is because there's something better. There's this relationship with God that we're all called to, and this union that we're all called to in heaven. And the only thing, Cecilia did this, she, bypassed earth and just went straight for heaven. And that's what she did. But how do you relate purity to our life? Because there's this physical purity, but, for me or another teenager who's not in a relationship, a married relationship, how does this work in my life? There's purity other than physical purity. There's purity of mind and heart and intention and all these different things. There's purity of basically everything, because everything is supposed to be pointed towards the good. I know that's a very broad and all-encompassing statement that I probably I don't have the authority to make. But I'm going to focus on, the purity of intention, because that kind of encompasses all of them. So I'm going to quote from a book, and it's actually about referring to St. Maximilian Kolbe, the other martyr that we talked about earlier. I think I might have talked about this book before, 33 Days to Morning Glory. Highly recommended. Okay, so here is the quote about Maximilian Kolbe. This is, if you watched the video of Maximilian Kolbe before, he got 2 crowns from Our Lady, white and red. This is St. Cecilia. She has white and red. Hopefully you can see the colors. So here's what Father Gately says about Maximilian. But his purity was not just of the body, for there's another kind of purity, purity of intention. A person practices purity of intention when he directs his thoughts, words, and actions not to himself or another creature, but to divine purpose or mission, and ultimately to God. And so that is that's really what sanctity is about, is making everything focused on God, regardless of what else is going on in our lives. To always remember that you're made for the best, and the best is God, so live for Him. Which means get holy and have fun doing it.
Cecilia prayed, make my heart immaculate, that I may not be confounded, Lord.